Hello! Today we'll discuss the most important aspect of a research paper, the title. The title is the first thing journal editors and reviewers will see when they receive your paper. It is also the only aspect that will be freely available to readers through search engines or indexing databases. Follow these steps to create the perfect title for your paper. Step 1. Ask yourself these questions. What is my paper about? For example, my paper studies whether drug A improves the motor function of patients suffering from Alzheimer's. What technique/design did I use? I used a randomized trial. Who or what did I study? I studied 400 cases from 6 states in the US. And what were the results? There was an improvement in the motor function of patients. Step 2. List keywords from your answers in Step 1. From the previous example, we get some keywords: drug A, randomized trial, Alzheimer's, 6 states in the US, 400 cases, improvement in the motor function. Step 3. Use these keywords to create a sentence. This study is a randomized trial that investigates whether drug A improved the motor function in 400 Alzheimer's patients from 6 states in the US. It reports an improvement in the motor function. Don't worry if this sentence is long. You're about to polish it. Step 4. Create a working title. Delete all repetitive or unnecessary words from this sentence. Here's how. So what you get from this example is: randomized trial of drug A for improving motor function in 400 Alzheimer's patients from 6 states in the US reports improved motor function. Note the word count of this working title. Step 5. Create a final title. Start polishing. Delete information that is not essential. Randomized trial of drug A for improving motor function in 400 Alzheimer's patients. There, you have a title for your research paper. You could also add a subtitle to this version: Drug A improves motor function in 400 Alzheimer's patients, a randomized trial. Let's do a quick recap. Remember, always write a title after you've finished writing your research paper. Keep it short and simple. Include all essential information about your paper. Avoid using abbreviations or too many technical terms. Use keywords that highlight what your paper is about. Never insert a period at the end of your title. That brings us to the end of this tutorial. I hope you find these tips helpful. For more resources on writing and publishing a research paper, visit Editage Insights at www.editage.com/insights. Happy writing!
Meet Jenny. Jenny has a research project due in a few days. She picked a topic when her professor first assigned the project. She chose her favorite TV show, Bridezillas. It seemed like a good idea, but now that she's doing her research, she's having a lot of trouble finding sources. She's freaking out. Jenny's problem started with her mental model of the research process, which she sees as a one-way street. Like many students, Jenny thinks that once a project is assigned, she should pick her topic right away. Then she can move on to finding sources and reading through them. And once she has all her sources, she can start writing her paper. But the research process is a lot messier than that, and picking your topic is intertwined with finding and reading sources, and writing and editing your paper. Picking your topic is research. When you first pick a research topic, it isn't set in stone. It's just an idea that you test with some exploratory research. If it looks good, you find and read some more sources. At this point, you might find that the published research leads you away from your original topic. That's okay. You can let the research you find guide you and tweak your topic a bit. And by the time you've gone through this cycle a few times, you may find that you have enough sources to start writing and editing your paper. Even then, as you're writing, you may find that you need to pull in additional pieces of information, and you may return to the research cycle. So, let's wind back the clock for Jenny, bringing her back to the day her professor assigned this project, and allow her to do it again with this research model. Again, Jenny picks a topic that is interesting to her, the reality TV show Bridezillas. As she tests the topic with some internet research and in article databases, she discovers that there is lots written about it in the popular press, but not much scholarly research which her professor requires. Realizing that maybe her topic is a bit too narrowly defined, Jenny decides to tweak it by broadening her scope to reality TV in general. But when she tests this new topic, she winds up drowning in a sea of research, all of which has to do with reality TV, but doesn't tie together to help her form a coherent thesis. Back at the drawing board, she wonders if there's a happy medium between Bridezillas, which is too narrow a topic, and reality TV, which is too broad. Since Bridezillas is just one of several reality TV shows about brides and weddings, perhaps there's more written about this subgenre. Testing this topic in some of the library's research databases yields a promising but not overwhelming number of results. Instead of realizing too late that her topic was unresearchable, Jenny built in the time to test and tweak her topic, so she could take her original idea and shape it into a topic that she still finds interesting, and can realistically use for a short research assignment. If you want to know more about the research process, or about how to pick a good topic, ask a librarian for help.
Hi, I'm Clancy Clausen with the University of Maryland Baltimore Writing Center, and in this video, we're going to talk about the content you'll need to include when writing an abstract. If you haven't already done so, please download our abstracts handout. Most abstracts contain 4 sections: the problem and purpose, the methods, the results, and the conclusions and implications. Hey, that looks familiar. My paper's organized the same way. Exactly. That's because abstracts are summaries of your paper. And like your paper, the abstract will tell a story. There was a problem, we set out to do something or learn something about it. This is what we did, this is what we found, and this is what that means. Okay, makes sense. Who doesn't love a good story? So let's take a closer look at each of those sections. First, the problem and purpose. The opening sentences of your abstract need to seize your reader's attention. So clearly state the problem and clearly state your purpose. Don't be afraid to start your purpose sentence with the phrase, "The purpose of this study is to blank." That's a good way to start. For example, take a look at this problem and purpose. Homelessness is associated with many health risks, including high body mass index or BMI. The purpose of this study is to investigate the relationship between homelessness and BMI among Baltimore teenagers. Next, let's talk about your methods. Now, you're not going to have a lot of space to go into great detail about your methodology. If the use of a certain instrument is common in your field, you probably don't need to go into great length about it. So ask yourself, what are the most significant details about my methodology? In other words, what will readers need to know to understand your results and your conclusions? Back to our example. High schoolers around the city anonymously reported their current housing status, height, and weight. Height and weight were then converted to BMI. After your methods come your results. Just like the methods section, you need to ask yourself, what are the most significant results? Focus on the results that relate most strongly to your problem and purpose and to your conclusions and implications. Here are the results in our example. Homelessness was found to be associated with higher BMIs. Last, the conclusions and implications. This section should point back to your problem and purpose. What do your results mean in the context of the problem? So here's the conclusion. Further investigation is needed to determine the causes of high BMIs among youth experiencing homelessness. So there you have it. That's the content of most abstracts. Remember, the details may change, but the overall story, that's going to stay the same. I'm Clancy Clausen. Stay tuned for more videos.
One of the things we ask for when you apply to the University of Birmingham is a research proposal. And to understand what a research proposal is, think plain and simple, what is the area of research and what is the thing that really matters? It is definitely a proposal, you don't need to have the answers yet, but it's setting out for us that you have got your own ideas, that you have a research area that you want to shape, and that it's part of your passion as to why you really want to address the questions that are big in that area. The best piece of advice I can give you for writing a research proposal is to bear in mind what we call the 4 Ps. That means the person, your preparedness, your project, and the place. To think about those a little bit more, we need to know a bit about you as a person, where you've come from in your academic background, your area of interest. Your preparedness, we need to know about what kind of study you've done before, what kind of skills you developed on those study programmes. You might have related skills from outside of study that shows how prepared you are for that particular research programme. But crucially, the project, does it add up? Does it make sense? And finally, does that project need to take place here? So think about the place, think about the University of Birmingham, what's important. To write a good research proposal, you need to include enough information. That means not just setting out the general area, but crucially, what are the 1 or 2 really significant questions for your area of research? That can be quite a challenge to decide how big or how small you go. Work with a potential supervisor on that, but always have 1 or 2 really striking research questions. In your research proposal, you should also include some of the context, what is going on in the field. And it's really, really useful to think about what's going on now and what's missing. So for some areas that will mean that nothing's been done since the 1950s and now is the time where we need to update it. In other areas, there's a lot going on, but there's still a gap or an angle of approach or particular way of researching it that has been missed. So think about what's going on there already. So there's the question and the context. There are 2 other useful elements that should go into the research proposal. The element of how you're going to actually answer your question, what people call the methodology. What is it? What actually are you going to do? And don't be afraid to think of that as just the nuts and bolts bit. It's okay to say that you're just going to sit down and read and write with a pencil. But often there'll be types of research that involve interviews, or types of research that might involve some field work, or trips to an archive. Think about what the method is, not just that you're going to sit in the archive and look at pretty books or pretty images, but what you're going to do to actually interrogate that information. And finally, you need to think in your research proposal about what your research and what your analysis will uncover. You definitely don't need to have the answers yet, but you need to have a good idea as to where it might lead and what the kind of conclusions might be. Think of it really as what original contribution might you make to that research area. Before you start writing a research proposal, the most important thing you can do is make contact with a potential supervisor. Typically, to do that, you might want a draft of an idea and to give a flavour as to what your academic experience is up till that point. Crucial is if you make contact with us, we can help advise you on your research proposal, and that's a really important step with a research degree programme.
Editage Insights presents How to Write an Outline for Your Research Paper. Why do you need an outline for your research paper? When you conduct research, you collect a lot of information and ideas. A research outline can help you organize your thoughts better, understand the flow and levels of information in your research, ensure that you don't miss anything while writing, Prepare a well-structured, neatly organized manuscript. So as you can see, preparing an outline for your paper will help you write it better and faster. Let's get started and learn how you can create an outline for your paper. First, make a list of all the sections in your paper. Your research paper should follow the IMRAD format and must include an introduction, methods, results and discussion, and conclusion. This is the basic outline for your research paper. Next, write down the main facts, points, or arguments that should be covered under each section. Let's take a closer look at all sections. What should you talk about in the introduction? The importance of your research, the goals of your paper, an overview of the organization of your paper, and a literature review. In the methods section, you need to talk about the scope of your methods and analysis, and describe each major method you used in your research. In the results section, you must report the results for each method used. And mention whether you were able to achieve the goals of your research. In the discussion section, you need to focus on how your study contributes to existing research in the field, and on how your results for each method are significant. And finally, in the conclusion, you must tie it all in together. Sum up the objectives of your paper. List your major findings. Share the implications of the study findings, and mention the scope of further research on the same topic. Your research outline is now ready, and this is how it looks. Remember, a research outline is the first step of manuscript writing, so you must have an outline ready before you start writing. Good luck with your paper!
Before you start searching for sources to support your work, it's a good idea to turn your rough topic into a thesis statement and then develop it into a research question that you will set out to answer. Why develop a research question? It will narrow your focus and make your topic more precise. It will help guide your search for related literature, ensuring that it is neither too broad nor too narrow. This in turn will help duplicating any existing research and help you identify gaps in the existing research. Last but not least, developing a research question will help you define the value and uniqueness of your research. The most important thing to remember is that your research question influences your search results. If your research question is too broad, you may be overwhelmed by the amount of information you receive. If your question is too narrow, you may not find enough information. How do you get from a rough topic to a thesis statement and then to a research question? First of all, brainstorm and write out everything you know about the topic. You can draw a concept map or use other techniques that will help you in this process. Talk to colleagues, including your fellow students, professors, researchers, or whoever you think may be helpful. Also, be sure to talk to a librarian about using the appropriate search tools to conduct your search. After you have found relevant sources on your research topic, read them, identify any possible gaps, and take notes to help you construct your thesis statement and research question. Your rough topic could be Elvis Presley's karate dancing. Your thesis statement might be Elvis Presley's dance style after 1970 was influenced by his karate skills. So, your research question could be, how was Elvis Presley's post-1970 on-stage dance style influenced by his karate skills? With your thesis statement and research question clearly defined in this manner, you will have a better chance of conducting successful research. For more assistance, contact your library.
Recall that a population refers to the group of things that we want information about, and a sample refers to part of the population that we take out to examine and draw conclusions